Good morning, students. Last session we discussed the types of unemployment. Today we are going to discussing the remaining part of third lesson. And today we are going to discussing the classical theory of employment. Classical theory of employment. First, we will know what do you mean by classical in classical period in economics. For example, in the economist, they are divided into three groups. One is classical economist, another one is neoclassical economist, another one is modern economist. The classical economist is known as before the period of Adam Smith. That is, during the period of 1776, they are all called classical economists. They are from France and other countries, England, other countries. For example, David Ricardo, J.S. Mill, J.P. Say, A.C. Bigu, and our father of economist, Adam Smith. They are all known as very old economists. They are believed only the nature. So the first book of Adam Smith is on inquiry into the nature and causes of wealth. And another group of economists, they are known as neoclassical economists. Neoclassical economists, after the classical economists, they are all called neoclassical economists, like Marshall, Robinson. These are the economists, they are called neoclassical economists. And the modern economist, Paul Samuelson, our from India, Kumar Amartya Sen, they are all known as the modern economist. Now we are moved to the contribution of classical economist for the theory of unemployment. And what do you mean by now we are going to move the classical theory of employment. As per the classical economist, assumed that the economy operates at the level of full employment without inflation in the long period. Classical theory believes the full employment. They also assumed the wages and the prices of goods were flexible. The price and the wages are adjustable, both consumer, even producer also. And in the competitive market existed in the economy. And the classical period, there are no government intervention. All the economic activities are controlled by the business people, that is known as laissez-faire policy. Now we are moved to the J.P. Say law of market, that is known as Say's law of market. So he was the French economist. He was living 1776 to 1832. He was a French economist and also a industrialist. He was influenced by the writings of Adam Smith. J.P. Say enunciated the proposition of supply creates its own demand. So supply creates its own demand. For example, from the industry, 1,000 TVs are supplied from the industry. So the 100 from the industry they are supplying the 1,000 TV, and the demand is also 1,000 TVs. That is known as supply creates its own demand. Hence there cannot be general overproduction, because the production is equal to supply and production is equal to demand. So according to the J.P. Say, when the goods produced by the firms in the economy, they pay reward for factors of production. So if you produce any commodity in the industries, the industrialists, they are pay the reward for factors of production. For example, land, labor, capital, and organization. It is known as factors of production, simply FOP, factors of production. In the factors of production, we are giving some reward, that is reward for factors of production, simply FOP. Rent is the reward for land, wages is the reward for labor, interest is the reward for capital, and profit is the reward for organization. When goods and produced by the bounce in the economy, they pay the reward for these four factors of production, and these four factors of production come out from the household, come out from the household or individual. The reward for factors of production spend the amount in the purchase of goods and services. After receiving the reward for factors of production, the peoples or consumers, they are paying these rewards to purchase the goods and services from the industries. That is known as supply creates its own demand. Therefore, each product produced in the country or economy creates demand equal and value in the market. That is known as, for example, supply of goods and demand for goods. So there is close relations between output and income. From the output, that is known as supply of goods and services. With the help of the supply of goods and services, the people, they are receiving the income. With the help of this income, the people, they are having the demand for goods and services, they are purchasing from the industry. There is close relations between output and income in the market. Next, we will move to what are the assumptions of Say's law of market. The assumptions of JPC law of market or Say's law of market. The first assumption is no single buyer or seller of commodity, because in classical theory many buyers, many sellers are available in the market. No single buyer or seller of commodity or an input can be affected price. And the second one is, in classical economists, all the economy, they are facing they are achieving the full employment. All the resources are fully utilized and they are providing the full employment to the people. And the third assumption is people are motivated by self-interest, and self-interest determine the economic decision. The people are motivated by self-interest, for example, to fulfill the basic needs like a food, cloth and shelter. The peoples, they are motivated by the self-interest to purchase the goods and services. This self-interest will create the economic decisions. And the fourth assumption is, in classical theory, all the economy, they are following laissez-faire policy. Laissez-faire policy means no government intervention. All the economics decisions are taken by the private people. Here, laissez-faire policies are followed by all the countries. And the fifth assumption is, there is perfect competition between consumer market and the product market. There is no rival between consumer and producers. There is perfect competition between consumer and producer, even product market. All the prices are equal, all the qualities are good. So that is known as perfect competition between the producers. And the sixth assumption is, there is wage flexibility based on the output. And the seventh one is, here money acts as a medium of exchange. What do you mean by medium of exchange? This is known as one of the functions of money. What do you mean by functions of money? Later we will discuss. No problem, I will say now. So, what are the functions of money? Money acts as a medium of exchange. Money acts as a store of value. Money acts as a deferred payments. That is known as the functions of money. Here, money acts as only the medium of exchange to transaction between goods and services to the people. And the eighth assumption is, all the economic activities are based on long run analysis. So in the business, they are divided into three. One is long run, another one is medium term, and the third one is short run. Here in the classical economics, all the business activities are carried out only in the long run basis. And next we will move to the ninth assumption. There is no possibility for overproduction. because the industries are produce how much amount of commodity need for the people. That is, here in the classical economist, they are believing no possibility for overproduction and unemployment. And 10th assumption is all the resources are fully utilized. Unutilized resources are not available in the classical economist. And 11th assumption is no government intervention. So the private people, they are adjusting their price with the help of price mechanism. And the 12th assumption is interest rate is flexibility. Whether the private people or banking sector, they are leaving the flexible interest rate, both consumer and producer. It will lead to the increase of savings and investment equality. And next we will move to the implications of Say's law. The first implication is there is no possibility for overproduction and unemployment. So there is no possibility for overproduction. What are the amount of goods is need for the market? So they will produce in the industry. There is no possibility for overproduction, and the industrialist, they are appointed their laborer, what amount of laborer is required for the production of goods and services. And the second implication is resources are fully utilized. All the resources, even human resources, forest resources, mining resources, water resources, what are the resources are available in the country, they are used fully. And the third assumption is here no need for government intervention. And the fourth one is interest rate flexibility brings out the equality between savings and investment. Because of the interest rate is minimum, the people, they are saving very less and they are interested to invest in the business for getting more profit rather than interest rate. And the fifth one is money performs only in the medium of exchange in the functions of classical economy, and the people, they are not able to hold their ideal money. All the incomes must be spent in the market. Next we will move to the criticism of Say's law. According to the Keynes, after the JP say, the Keynes will come and criticize his theory. According to the Keynes, supply does not create its own demand. Earlier says JP said supply creates its own demand, but here the J.M. Keynes was said described supply never creates its own demand. It is not applicable. The demand does not increase as much as production increases. So production increases due to the demand increases, but in the normal life, never the demand increases, the production is not increases. And the next one is automatic adjustment process will not remove unemployment. Automatic adjustment process means even price mechanism or wage rate flexibility or interest rate flexibility, they are not give any employment to the people. They are not able to remove the unemployment in the country. The unemployment can be removed by the increase in the rate of investment. The people, they are investing more, or to extend their business, they will employ more people. But the automatic adjustment process never stop unemployment in the economy. And the third one is money is not neutral. Money is used for various purposes, several uses, many uses. An individual hold the money for unforeseen contingencies or unforeseen expenses or features need. When the businessmen keep the cash or money reserved for future activities, for example, you extend their business or you extend their capital or to purchase the needed things for their industry or purchase the machinery. Individual, they are hold their money for future needs, but the businessmen, they are hold their money for the future activities. Students, next class we will move to very interesting concept, that is Keynes theory of employment and income. Very interesting class. Don't miss the class. Thank you.